Okay, I'll ask everybody to be upstanding while we have the affirmation, please. We recognise the traditional owners of the land. We are inspired by the early pioneers and by those who gave their lives for our country. We now ask God's blessing on our deliberations and on our commitment to build a better lifestyle and environment. Thank you very much. Okay, are there any apologies today, please? Yep. We have one of our directors, Naomi Good, is an apology today. Any other apologies? Thank you. Item number 2, the confirmation of the minutes. Everybody happy with the minutes of the previous meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And we confirm they're an accurate record?
They are indeed.
Thank you very much. Any matters arising from those minutes?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, could we have a mover, seconder?
Okay, yes, we need to have a mover on the confirmation of the minutes of the meeting, please.
I'll move that that's an accurate record.
Councillor Haswell, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. Any matters arising from those minutes? No, I take that as a no, Kerry, thank you. Any presentations and awards? No, thanks. Any presentation of petitions or joint letters? No. Any disclosures of conflict of interest? Any matters that we'll be dealing with today? Anybody has a conflict in regard to those?
I've had no advice, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I take it that everybody's doesn't have any conflicts. Item number 7, the informal meetings of councils, and it was only a few days ago when I mentioned it, so we've only got a relatively smaller list today. Just to note a couple of those meetings that we've had outside of council is the visitor services discussions, the Valley Drive development. Of course, the budget, we've been working through that for several months now. Quarterly financial return and others. Now we need a motion to note them, I take it. Could I get a motion in regard to the notation? Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Could a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Grady. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Any items brought forward? None, thank you. We'll deal with the reports from our officers now. 9.1, the Arts and Culture Plan 2021 to 2022. The purpose is to adopt the Arts and Culture Plan for 2021 to 2022. Now we have an officer's recommendation. Can I get a motion in regard to this, please?
Happy to move the officer's recommendation that Council adopts the Arts and Cultural Action Plan 21-22.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Driscoll, thank you. Councillor Irwin, you'd like to speak on the motion?
Just quickly, congratulations to all those involved in this. It's been a hard road, and I think congratulations must go to Tina, who's done a tremendous job in getting this Arts and Cultural Plan together. And I guess these are the things. I think the solo art trail sparked a lot around this area, and it's good to see regional country towns taking up the sprucing up, I suppose, and making their places attractive for visitors to come and see. So I think this plan is a way forward and will be good on the future.
Thank you very much. Councillor Driscoll?
Council Edwards covered it pretty well. I think the arts community is very diverse. It provides, as I said, lots of benefits to our shire and our residents as well as our visitors. So from that perspective, health and wellbeing, and also it's an industry in itself as well in terms of recreation. So we respect all those efforts as well. So I think from that perspective, it's a collaborative policy. There's been a lot of work done in terms of consultation. Arts and culture is a very diverse brief, but I think we've captured this here to move ahead and get a more collaborative and concise approach to it.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak on the motion? Councillor Irwin, you'd like to sum up? No. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We're now dealing with 9.3.1, the Valley Drive Development Plan Proposal. The purpose here is of this report is to provide background to the requirement of the development plan for the Valley Drive and make a recommendation to Council on the acceptability of the proposed development. We have an officer's recommendation. I need a motion in regard to the officer's recommendation or any other motion that Council wish to put. I'm calling for a motion in regard to the development plan of Valley Drive.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move a motion that we approve the proposed Valley Drive development plan.
Councillor Grady, could you provide Council with a direct motion in regard to what you believe is the development requirement for Valley Drive before I ask for a seconder? So, yeah, just hang on. If you'd like to prepare a motion and provide it to the CEO, we'll come back to it after we do the next. Would you like to write out a motion? I'll move on to the next, or we can adjourn for a couple of minutes while you work out the motion that you want to deliver. We've got to have a direct motion in regard to the adoption of the plan for the Valley Drive. If we're not agreeing with the officer's recommendation, then we have to have a specific motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we adjourn.
Okay. Could I get a seconder on that? Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. All in favour of an adjournment? Thank you. We'd have to ask the press people just to leave for a moment while we have a quick discussion. Okay, thank you, councillors, and apologise to the gallery for that slight interruption. So we're dealing with 9.3.1, the Valley Drive Halls Gap Development Plan Proposal, and I've been through the purpose of that, so I'm requiring a motion in regard to the officer's recommendation. Either option 1 or option 2 would be preferable. So could I get a motion in regard to that, please?
Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move a motion that we adopt option 2 to approve the proposed Valley Drive development
plan. Thank you. I'll just call for a seconder. Can I get a seconder in regard to that, please? Councillor Ostasovic. And would you like to speak on the motion, Councillor Grady?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I've been ahead and we've looked at the plans and option to develop. There's room that meets the requirements of the public land in the development, and I think it's a good development as far as the Hall Gap needs more accommodation for visitors and things. And I'd just like to see it go ahead.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ostasovic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The development provides open space for the community. The development is within Halls Gap. It's within 160,000 hectares of open space. The development also has accepted the recommendations of the planning officers, with the exception of additional areas. However, the number of lots has been reduced to meet those expectations by planning, and I think the recreational area or the open space area provided by the plan is more than acceptable.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak on the motion? No? Councillor Grady, would you like to sum up?
I think Councillor Reading summed it up fairly well. And yeah, that's about all.
Thank you. I'll, excuse me, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. 9.4.1, the S11A Instrument of Authorisation and Appointment. The purpose here is to appoint council employee Lucinda Peterson by resolution pursuant to section 147 of the Planning and Environment Act as an authorised officer. Could I get a motion, please? There is a recommendation here, quite a long one. If you're proposing that, if you're proposing that motion, I'll give you the time to read through it if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'd like to recommend that in the exercise of the powers conferred by section 147, 4 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, Council resolves that one member of council staff referred to an instrument be appointed and authorised to set out in the instrument. The instrument comes into force immediately. The instrument remains in force until council determines to vary or revoke it for the officer's employment of the Northern Grampians Shire Council ceases.
Thank you very much. Could I have a seconder in regard to that motion, please? Councillor Driscoll, thank you. Councillor Irwin, would like to speak on the motion?
Yeah, it's always good to welcome a new member of staff, particularly in the planning area. It's been a real challenge to get people to come to small rural councils with planning. So I welcome to Lucinda, provided the motion gets passed. But look, it's good to have someone to fill that quite large gap actually in the council staff. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item number 10, notice of motion or rescission. I take it there won't be any. I'm just going to bring item 12 forward if everybody's in agreement before we do the reports from councillors. So I'll deal with item number 12, and that's an urgent business item. Can I have a motion in regard to accepting the urgent business item, please? Thank you, Councillor Ostasevich. Could I have a seconder, please? I don't need a Councillor Haswell. Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now I'll entertain a motion, and I presume it'll be you, Councillor Ostasevich, in regard to the delegation itself.
The recommendation. Oh, thank you. The recommendation is that S18 of the instruments of sub-delegation from council to members of council staff in the exercise of the powers conferred by section 437 subclause 2 of the Environment Protection Act of 2017 and the instrument delegation of the Environment Protection Authority under the Act dated 4th of June 2021, Council resolves that there be delegated to the council staff holding, acting or in performing the duties of officers or positions referred to in the attached section 18 instrument of sub-delegation of members of council staff, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. The instrument comes into force immediately upon this resolution being made, and it is to be signed by the council's chief executive officer and mayor. The duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed, and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. Section 5, Instrument Delegation from Council to CEO. In the exercise of the powers conferred by section S11(1)(b) of the Local Government Act 2020, the Council resolves that there be delegated to the person holding the position or acting in or performing the duties of Chief Executive Officer the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. The instrument comes into force immediately upon this resolution being made and is to be signed by the Council Senior Officer and Mayor. On the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. The duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed, and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of Council that it may, from time to time, adopt.
Thank you for that. Could I get a second in regard to that very simple motion? Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Ostasevich, would you like to speak on the motion?
This change and the change of delegation is a direct response to changes in the legislation by the Victorian Government. And for our organisation to work effectively, we need to approve this so that our officers have the appropriate delegations to move forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Driscoll?
Councillor Eady summed it up pretty well from Councillor Irwin's motion before, and Councillor Eady said a lot of instruments going around here. Sounds like a brass band, it's not.
Thank you very much. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Some might say we're the Salvation Army or whatever. We'll go back to item number 11. Reports from councillors. The opportunity for councillors to get on their feet and discuss any of the important reports that they need to put into the public arena, if there are any. We only met 3 or 4 days ago, so probably there won't be very many. Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
One meeting that did take place between those 3 or 4 days is the North Central Local Learning and Employment Network. We have formed a subcommittee to work on the Reconciliation Action Plan as part of that organisation, for that organisation. And we met with one of the elders, Kerry Douglas, in developing that action plan moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other councillors wish to report?
Just quickly, I did attend the Waste Forum on last Friday, online. Things are progressing along pretty well to Waste Authority, and also got an update on container deposit schemes, which seem to be coming together, and almost settled, I think, on the refund or how it will work, the mechanism how it will work, and the containers involved in the refundability, and it seems that they're trying to aim for some consistency across Australia as to the container deposit exchange. Any changes, will be a fairly small amount of containers originally, and any changes that will hopefully be on a national scale rather than a state scale. So it is coming together. Fingers crossed it works. It's sort of it's scaled around the New South Wales model to a certain extent, with some state modifications, but it's coming together slowly.
Thank you. Any other councillors? I've just got one report to make. Since the decision of council last week in regard to the differential rating, I've had a lot of inquiries from the community, and when I say a lot, 8 or 10 inquiries from the community to say that they're not fully aware of the outcomes of differential rating. By that, what I mean is our residential people, until the ones that I've spoken to, until I'd spoken to them, were not aware that if we're shifting the rate burden from one organisation to another, they were not aware that that burden could well be shifted from the farming community to the residential community. And I intend to make it quite clear to the CEO that we should get some information out there to our community which clearly explains how our broken rating system really works. And when we make changes to any part of our community's rating system, we put the information out there so people clearly understand. And I've been thinking about it for a few days, and I know Councillor Haswell has had similar inquiries. So if there's no other reports from councillors, we'll move on to public question time. Have we received any written notice for public question time? No, I'm getting a nod over there from Kerry, so we don't have to deal with that. Now we have 6 items to deal with in closed council, so could I get a motion in regard to standing orders, and so we can go into closed council, please? Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Second, Councillor Dempsey. Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. During closed council, we made a number of decisions, and I'll get the CEO to report on those decisions.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The council, through their closed session, agreed 6 contracts. One is for the provision of plumbing and gas fitting services, provision of electrical maintenance services, external plant and equipment hire for civil works, the provision of various trade services in a panel form, the motor vehicle replacement program, and road condition assessment.
Thank you very much for that. I think that concludes the business of council for today. So if there's no further business, I'll declare the meeting closed and thank everybody for their attendance. Thank you.